Are you ready to move all in? Welcome to Context TV, and today we'll be exploring the high-stakes history of poker to see how a simple game of nerve and intuition grew into a multi-billion-dollar industry where anyone can become a millionaire on the turn of a card. Before we begin, we publish new content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. From draw games to community games, poker exists in many forms. Though the origins of the game can be traced back to Mississippi River gambling boats, the popularity of poker owes a lot to World War II, when decks of playing cards came part of a soldier's standard issue kit. Troops played poker in their downtime, and survivors of the war brought the game back with them to home games and dinner tables up and down the country. In the 1960s, cash games were being played on the Las Vegas Strip, but the game had an image problem associated with seedy back rooms and dodgy hustlers. In an attempt to legitimize the game and attract new players, a group of Texas rounders established the World Series of Poker, an annual series of knockout tournaments with fixed buy-ins where anyone and everyone was invited to play, if they could afford the entry. In 1971, the World Series had only 7 players and 5 events. By 2018, there were 123,865 entries across 78 events, with players from 104 countries represented. This boom was in large part down to the influence of Doyle Texas Dolly Brunson, the godfather of poker, one of the original Texas rounders who founded the series.
Good luck to everybody.
Good luck.
Bad luck, actually,
Brunson went on to become a 10-time bracelet winner, including back-to-back victories in the main event in 1976 and 77. Following this second victory, Doyle published Super System, an introductory guide to the theory behind various poker games. The book became a Bible for casual players and pros alike, detailing Brunson's secrets for success. Suddenly, anyone could play at the highest level. Poker became a TV sport globally in the late 1970s, but it was the invention of the pocket cam in the 90s that led to the next wave in the poker explosion. For the first time, the audience didn't have to guess at a player's cards, but instead could follow along at home, inside the head of the pros. By this time, poker coverage was dominated by No Limit Texas Hold'em, the Cadillac of poker, a game of huge swings and wild drama, easy to learn, but near impossible to fully master. In 1998, the cult classic Rounders was released in cinemas, starring a young Matt Damon and Edward Norton.
Yeah, I'm gonna go all in because I don't think you got the spades.
Though the film received mixed success, it's since been credited for fueling the interest of a new generation of players, including an accountant from Tennessee who would go on to change the game forever, a man with the most perfect name in poker history, Chris Moneymaker. In 2003, Moneymaker qualified for the $10,000 buy-in World Series of Poker main event through a satellite tournament on PokerStars, an online poker site. Moneymaker paid only $86 in order to earn his seat. The event was broadcast by ESPN, who covered the action play-for-play like a major sporting event. In Moneymaker, they had a hero for their story, a likable, softly spoken amateur player and everyman who, through a combination of skillful reads and a huge amount of luck, knocked out some of the biggest names in the game to win the tournament prize of $2.5 million. Thanks to Moneymaker's influence, online poker gained credibility, and professional poker players were suddenly celebrities, receiving lucrative sponsorship deals to act as TV ambassadors for the biggest sites. Because of the 2004-2005 NHL lockout, ESPN broadcast Moneymaker's unlikely story as replacement programming across their major sports networks.
Chris Moneymaker showed the world anyone can win, but since then has come up empty. Can Moneymaker prove he was not a fluke?
I'm feeling good. My game's probably the best it's been in a long time.
By 2005, the World Series had outgrown Binion's Horseshoe and moved off the Strip to the Rio All-Suite Hotel and Casino. By 2006, winning the main event at the World Series of Poker earned you $12 million. As the game expanded, online communities like 2+2 grew in popularity, and a new breed of young players brought a mathematical approach to the game, adapting Brunson's theories for the internet age, when players bet across up to 24 tables at a time, making optimized decisions aided by custom-built programs which track betting patterns across millions of hands. International tournaments like the World Poker Tour and the European Poker Tour grew in popularity, and tournament buy-ins inflated to insane levels, where $100,000 entry tournaments were being held nearly every month. It seemed like poker was an unstoppable force. But on April 15, 2011, a day now known among the poker community as Black Friday, it all came crashing down. The U.S. Department of Justice served an indictment against the biggest online sites, including PokerStars and Full Tilt Poker, freezing $3 billion of assets, including player funds. Overnight, online poker had been made illegal in the U.S. players learned that Full Tilt Poker had been operating as a Ponzi scheme, paying their staff and sponsored pros out of player funds.
The Department of Justice says the online poker site Full Tilt Poker was a big Ponzi scheme. It was supposed to have more than $400 million in player funds in it, but it only had about $60 million.
Planned events and shows were cancelled, and American pros were forced to leave the country to continue playing. By late 2012, there was some hope. PokerStars were cleared to acquire Full Tilt's remaining assets and established a plan to reimburse all the stolen player balances. The poker world's attention turned to the first ever $1 million buy-in tournament in poker history. The big one, for one drop, was organized by Guy Laliberté, founder of Cirque du Soleil. The event attracted 48 entries, with 11% of each buy-in going to charity. After 3 days of play, Antonio the Magician Esfandiari won the event for over $18 million. Though the numbers have dropped off since the peak in 2016, the poker industry is more profitable than ever before, with the Stars Group reporting revenues of $1.3 billion in 2018. To date, the World Series has paid out nearly $3 billion in prize money. In recent years, online poker has returned to a handful of US states, whilst the game has found a new audience through Twitch, as the newest wave of pros make names of themselves by streaming their play on a short delay, communicating near live with an audience of fans and fellow players. The game continues to evolve as players battle against increasingly sophisticated artificial intelligence. In 2017, a computer program known as Libratus was able to beat some of the world's best heads-up, no-limit hold'em players, leading some to declare that the game had been solved. What the future holds for poker is uncertain, but so long as the game's around, one thing is for sure: there will always be people ready to shuffle up and deal.